Jai Bhim everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Apurvanand sir for inviting me over here. And also, I'd like to thank Ashok Vajpayee ji, who was the first person who returned his award after Rohit Vemula's death. Here I'd like to start where Umar has ended with the quote of Rohit Vemula, where he said, "A man has been reduced to his immediate identity. Never was a man treated as a mind, as a thing made up of stardust." And for all those who have read the letter of Rohit Vemula on 17th of January, will know what Rohit was craving for. He was craving for humanity to exist in the society. I am not talking about the humanity that is being preached by sadhus and sants who just be there in those aramas and ashramas, but yet kill people with their provocative speeches. I am not talking about those sadhus and sants who talk about humanity for namesake. But here is a person who wants humanity to spread and who talks about Carl Sagan. And when for the first time I was introduced about Carl Sagan by Rohit Vemula, and when I started browsing who Carl Sagan was preaching to the world that wars in the world must end if humanity must persist. And he was a serious follower of Voltaire. And when I looked at this person called Voltaire, when Ambedkar talks about Voltaire in his Annihilation of Caste, and when he makes a brief remark that India has not produced a single Voltaire, if India would have produced as many number of Voltaires as possible, then perhaps caste system would wither away from this country. This interlinkage which starts from Voltaire, Carl Sagan and Ambedkar, which Rohit Vemula wants to propagate it through, even just few minutes before his death, is what everyone must have to understand. Here, I stand here not as Dontha Prashanth, because Dontha Prashanth is not known to anyone in this country, even when we were socially boycotted or even when our struggles were continuing. But Dontha Prashanth is known to this various people of this country only after Rohit's demise, and that's sad. When I'm coming here, I came here as a representative of thoughts of Rohit Vemula, because as a person who has been there with him for those 17 days, spending chilled nights in that cold winter, fighting against an RSS recruitee who is acting as Vice Chancellor of this university, fighting against those union ministers whose letters have led to the expulsion and whose letters have made us feel that yes, we may have to begin our life again and again. And these thoughts I like to share in a broader context as to how and why these things have been happening. And in University of Hyderabad, what was happening was we were basically taking up the thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Because universities, we believe that are a modem for the change in the society and are a mode for change, for a social transformation to happen. If you go and ask a Dalit in a village, I come from a Dalit family. If I would have gone and asked my grandfather, why you are still an agricultural laborer, can you tell me what made you to be in this position? Then he might say it is my karma, beyond which he cannot interpret or beyond which he cannot tell why his position is like this. But the responsibility lies on all those students who come into these institutions to explore why my grandfather is still an agricultural laborer in the village without a land. And when these questions have begun in educational institutions, these questions have become a threat for the caste Hindus of this country. Thus, RSS has clearly planned to attack the universities, because nowhere you could see in the villages they can go and appropriate a local god or goddesses and claim that that god is an incarnation of Lakshmi, Durga, Rama, Krishna. But in the universities they cannot, because in the university we have Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who has written volumes of information as to who Rama was, who Krishna was, who Durga was, what was Hinduism, what were the riddles in Hinduism, and what was caste and how to annihilate caste. And when these discussions and debates have started in the universities, it is this point of time when a calculated assault has happened on educational institutions. What was after all, what have we done? What was the mistake that we have done? Organizing a program against capital punishment on the lines of what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar spoke in the Constituent Assembly. Is that the wrong that we have done? Organizing a program against RSS and appropriation of Ambedkar, where they entirely misappropriated Ambedkar and were presenting, were completely misrepresenting Ambedkar to people of India, is questioning that a mistake committed by us. Professor Ratnam, who is the Center for Ambedkar Studies, is it a mistake that he has done that he started organizing lectures on Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, on various thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar? Is it that taking philosophy of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar forward, that is what is making this RSS shaken from their roots? Why? Because whenever a Muslim speaks, it is easy for them to target Muslim that you are a terrorist. And whenever an Adivasi speaks, it is easy for RSS that he is a Naxal. But whenever Dalit speaks by holding the book of Ambedkar in his hand, it becomes very difficult for RSS to attack a Dalit or anyone who holds Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in their hands. Because if they start attacking Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, people have witnessed what happened in the villages of the country when even one Ambedkar statue was touched. What happened, this country knows. I need not tell in brief. Here, we want to reiterate, yes, we also were branded as anti-nationals for talking against capital punishment, for joining an Ambedkar Students Association. But I am not feeling ashamed that I am being called as an anti-national, because I believe in Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's idea that this nation has not yet been created. This nation must be built. Nation building is one thing that this Dalit Bahujan masses of this country would take up, which none of these caste Hindus can take up, because the RSS, which is being led by these caste Hindus, has distorted this idea of nation, which has an aim of only creating differences in the name of caste, creed, religion and race, which we don't believe in. Because you can go and campaign in Assam that I will not make it sure that not even a pigeon can fly from one country to another. We don't believe in boundaries of geographical boundaries. We believe in humanity and we believe in people. Unity of people's movement. If the same stance could have been adopted by the oppressed sections of this country, what would have been the situation of this RSS? The very same RSS that we will not allow you to enter the village. If you socially persecute us, then what would have been the fate of them? I don't know, people will speak about Lakshmanpur Bate and also about Kandamal and also about Karamchedu. But there are many more struggles that have even happened before, where resistance, when it took the form of violence, when Dalits have opted the mode of violence, then caste Hindus were also persecuted. But Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said, we are not going to adopt that mode of violence. When when right to water was protested, when right to water was demanded, at that point of time, the untouchables consisted of thousands of people, but it was only a handful of people who came and attacked the Dalits in that particular area. When all of them went to Ambedkar and asked him, what shall we do? Then he said only one thing: we are not going to opt for this violence, mode of violence. He has made it sure that after 7 months, he organized a conference where he, along with progressive Brahmins, have burnt the Manusmriti, which has laid this foundations of caste, which has brought this enmity, which has brought this hatred, and he started educating people. He started, it would take a minute to evoke this atmosphere of communalism, that if a Dalit gets killed, you go and kill 5 more caste Hindus. That's not the philosophy that either Buddha has adopted nor Ambedkar has adopted, and perhaps that's the philosophy even Rohit Vemula has also adopted. Otherwise, he would have easily gone and killed Appa Rao. This is the message that we want to give from University of Hyderabad. If you want to target Ambedkar, if you want to target students, then you can see what has been happening in the entire nation. For example, BJP has started attacking JNU. What happened in JNU? It has created a mess for itself, because it has produced leaders like Kanaya, Shela, Omar, Anirban, who started speaking against BJP vehemently, which none of the opposition parties could have done. And then they have come to Allahabad University, where Richa Singh is bravely opposing this Narendra Modi's government policies. And before which University of Hyderabad was targeted. Now today in each and every village, movement of justice for Rohit Vemula is going on. Thus, it becomes an important phase for all of us to carry this movement ahead. And how should we carry is also important. And having had an experience of engaged in student politics for quite a while, what I could understand was, when I entered University of Hyderabad, I felt a bit sort of disillusionized with the politics in the way in which it used to happen. Because in our campus, left used to be there at that point of time, now also it exists. But it used to mostly consist of elite crowd. And I didn't had any space to interact with such elite crowd. Because I come from a very distinct socio-economic background that I could not able to interact with them. Nor have they tried to interact with me. It didn't happen vice versa. But what I would say is, until and unless these interactions develop, until and unless caste questions are taken up, until and unless the issues of socio-inequality are taken up, then we cannot have any revolution in this country. Because, as Ambedkar said, we also believe that an idea needs as much propagation as a plant needs watering. And that idea is this idea that we all must have to unite to remove caste from the grassroots of this country. And if caste has to be removed from the grassroots of this country, if Voltaires do not come up in this country, if Brahmins does not speak to Brahmins and stop them and advise them to not to follow these casteist principles, if Bhumiyars not speak to their own Bhumiyar community not to go and do these violent acts in the villages, if Reddis do not speak to Reddis that what all lands you have got through you have acquired in a very violent atmosphere, if you do not give it back to the country for productive returns to be reaped by this country, then you cannot expect equality to persist. If equality does not exist, as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said on 26th of January, that if equality in terms of economic and social inequality persists, then the constitution that has been built very laboriously in this in this parliament will be burnt by the masses. I think let us not expect that situation to come up. And for that situation not to come up, it is the responsibility of all of us to go back to villages and annihilate caste first, so that people like me and my brothers and sisters can come and study in the university, in the spaces like University of Hyderabad. Now when I go back to University of Hyderabad, I still feel suffocated because the murderer of Rohit Vemala is still ruling that same space where protests have begun. He is ruling with the support of the state. He is ruling with the support of Venkaiah Naidu. He is ruling with the support of Modi. The same strategy which Narendra Modi, RSS have used in 2002, that after the riots, they didn't want to remove Narendra Modi, but they wanted to continue to make it sure that all evidences are destroyed. The same strategy are being used in University of Hyderabad by bringing back Appa Rao to make it sure that all agitations in the university are curbed. But I would like to give one message, that we all 27 people have been jailed along with 2 faculties. But when we went to jail, there we found that jail atmosphere is much better than the University of Hyderabad atmosphere under the rule of Appa Rao. If RSS or BJP wants to conduct 125th birth anniversary celebrations of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, first of all read what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said about nation, about Kashmir, and read and propagate what he said about riddles of Rama and Krishna. Thank you. Jai Bhim.